I found one of the best ways to convince a seller about pricing their property is showing them what you can't do. Instead of showing them what you can do, here's the comps that support it, I found it much more emotionally impacting to help them agree with me, here's what you can't do. I'm going to take an example of a property around $200,000. The seller wants to list it for that value. And so I walk in there with comps to support their position. And actually my position is like, I want it at 180. They want it at 200. And traditionally we have to show them comps around the 180 that shows them that's really where they're at. You're getting disagreement with people. How do I know this? All I have to do is look in the MLS and see how many failed listings occurred in an area to see that agents are having trouble equipping the seller with the right mindset how to price the property correctly. And this type of comp I'm going to talk to you about is called the BRYAN Comp. I created it, named it after myself. And it's Bryan with a Y, not an I. So a BRYAN Comp doesn't care if the property is the same style. BRYAN Comp, what it wants to know is if the property was bought in the same radius as the subject, about the same year, because let's say our seller in this situation purchased the property for $185,000. They want to ask $200,000 for it. What I'm looking for in the way of comps is not the same style. I want properties that were bought in the same radius, in the same year, and our subject bought it back in, let's say, 06. They bought it in the same year, the same time frame, almost the same month. And they paid about the same amount for the property. Same year, same amount, same radius. That's the comp that I want. The key to these comps are the end, meaning they're sold now in the present marketplace. They have resold. They were acquired around the same date, same area, same value. And the key to this was they're selling now. Let's say you bought stock, or maybe 10 of us all bought Boeing stock around the same date, same market flexibility, things are going on. Let's say we all bought Boeing, bought the same date for about the same price in the same market sector, right? And everybody resold that stock and lost 10% on that stock. But you come along and you want to sell your stock now, but you want to make money. That was your goal, and you think, well, I'm going to make money on this stock. I'm not going to lose money on it. But what we can see is 100% of the people who bought around the same date, same sector in the marketplace, and about the same value of a stock, they all lost money. You want to make money. The same principle with homeowners. When you bought a property and you paid $185,000, we have found those people who paid $185,000, 9 out of 10 of them lost money. They bought around the same date, same area, for the same value, and now they've all resold. That's a BRYAN Comp. We're looking at properties. You have to know what the acquisition price and date was. You've got to find the other comps that have sold recently that were bought around the same date, same area, same value. When we do is we have 2 software programs called the Forecaster or Precise Pricing. Depends on your area. What it does, it helps you process these properties to see what the average rate of return was, not price per square foot, but compounding rate of return per year. And you'll see in these reports at a BRYAN Comp that sometimes 13 out of 14 properties that were bought around the same date, same area, same value, those 13 of the 14 all lost money. And the home seller you're sitting in front of says, well, we think we can sell it for more than we paid for it. And in actuality, it has almost no probability. But agents are taking these listings all the time that are starting what I call in the green. In the green means they were appreciating, they're anticipated. After all, the seller thought the house would go up in value, and they don't want to break even on the property. They don't want to pay a brokerage fee and go under. So the BRYAN Comps really address that statistically you cannot outperform the marketplace. It's a very simple thing when a seller sees it in not black and white, but in green and red. The red ones are depreciating, the green ones appreciated. It's such a powerful visual to show a seller a CMA report are people who, again, bought around the same date, same value, same area, and have already resold again. It's almost hard to argue with it at all unless the seller says, of course, well, I sunk all this money into it. We're prepared for that because on the MLS printouts, it already, of course, indicates all the capital improvements that those sellers made. If you study those MLS printouts, quite often you'll see that the neighbors that resold recently, that bought around the same date, same area, same value, put in more capital improvements, it's right there in the MLS, than your seller did. And on occasion when you see so much properties in the red, and then you see a couple in the green appreciating, it's almost guaranteed. You click on that address, you look at that printout, they loaded that thing up with capital improvements. Or you look at the prior time they bought it, and they bought it at a deep discount. So the only way to outperform the marketplace is to sink it full of capital improvements, far more than the other people are, or have stole the property when you acquired it. And most people didn't steal the property. They may have felt like they did, but really you can go back in 2006 and you can show that other comps that they paid about market value. What we're doing here is we're eliminating the seller's ability to overprice the property. Very simple visual, just show how the economy moved during the time that they owned the property. Now this is not just the sold statuses. You can look at all the failed statuses as well, the expired listings, to be able to show the seller that 13 out of the 14 that sold were in the red, and 13 of the 14, whatever the number is, that expired went green. In other words, they statistically tried to outperform the market's rate of return. This has been in existence since the first home was built and ground started to appreciate. It's always been about the scarcity of ground, and the builders that are putting more stuff up, they're pushing the value up. In the absence of the builder buying ground and driving those prices up, there becomes an abundance of ground, no longer a scarcity. It pushes our ground value down. When our ground value goes down, there goes our appreciation. Just years of it can be wiped out in a short period of time if ground values start to plummet. So again, BRYAN Comps are helping the seller to show them what they can't do. And lastly, in the end, it shows them really what they're at the right price. And now you have a paper trail to help you determine and defend the value. But it starts with the seller. Thanks for watching.